Hey! Sporting of Bob here. I'm going to tell you about the creation of this Bastiladon, which is found on lustriaonline.com. It was a collaboration on the Beasts of Lustria thread, which Discommute came up with the ideas and the words, and I came up with the pictures. Now I'm warning you, this video is pretty long, and if you think I can go for 17 minutes of amusing banter, well, you might find out differently. The first drawings in early November were pen and ink, and they were just to get the basic mood and the layout of the different characters in the thing. I photographed the sketches with my iPad, and then we were away at the sketching, and I've captured videos of that. And you'll see that I am not Pendrake. I work on things layer by layer by layer, lots of corrections, lots of changes until I end up with something I'm satisfied with. So here you can see, to get the three-dimensional shape of the limbs, I'm doing a wireframe thing that I got in the drawing tutorial. You can see that those legs have already got a bit of bulk there. Not too concerned at this point by just about anything. I'm just trying to get lines on a page to get me started. And yep, decided I didn't like the way the back was going, so changed the angle of a few things. And it goes on and on and on like this, so you'll be seeing quite a lot of layers here, and probably nothing remains from the original by the time you get to the end. Yep, did a line down the middle of the back there so I could get an idea of where the centre was, so that the plates could go out from that later on. Plates, plates, plates. Don't like the plates. Don't like the leg. You saw I moved the whole leg inwards there just to get the shape right. Flip the head around. Yes, I want it pointing the other way now, I've decided, so still trying to get that goofy sort of mood with the face there, so pupils pointing every which way. Eventually I'll give up on some body part and work on another, and tweak, tweak, tweak. Rightio, let's look at some other characters then. There's our skinky there. We can just roughing in the position of his limbs. Now he's a bit unusual for one of my skinks in that he's in a reasonably dynamic pose there. You can see I've put him off balance there. Giving hopefully a sense of movement, or a sense of effort anyway of what he's doing. I never really assumed that I've got all of the poses right. Everything's up for grabs. And there's things like those lines across the forehead just making him more three-dimensional for me to understand his position. Those will be deleted later, or covered over with colour or whatever, but they just help me to see his shape and understand how his stance is. Now I've decided that leg, I didn't like that leg, so I just made everything very, very light. Now I'm having another crack at doing a different leg. So again, never assume I got the pose right first time. Come back, bend his knee a bit more, bending his foot a bit more. Yes, where did that tail go? I'm not so sure. Anyway, it's hands and feet, so I'll be doing hands and feet for a long time during this video. And yep. Oh, I must be happy with him now because I put the sweat marks in. And back onto the other one. It was very roughly blocked into the position he was going to be, but the pose wasn't really right. And if I can't get the pose just trying to draw a lizard from scratch, then I'll draw more of a human form. It's often a bit of a hybrid actually, sort of some of the proportions of a lizard, some of a human. Just to get the position right, and then I'll start doing things like lengthening the feet and adding the claws and that sort of thing to get it back to a nice cold-blooded, scaly, worthy thing. Yep, so anyway, it's probably more human with bad toenails than anything else at the moment. Oh, no, it's a lizard. Not a very attractive lizard, but never mind. Line into lines, details, details. Good, got a tail now, that's progress, I think. Or is it? No, it might have devolved, I'm not sure. Anyway, now one of the things I did with the feet was change them so that the heels are dug in and the toes are upwards. Again, trying to give that sense of push, sense of effort that's happening there. Hands. Even if I'm really planning to do realistic hands, I'll usually start with banana fingers. Right, okay, I think we're actually up to his final pose here. No, it doesn't look quite right. Rub it out now. You can see that scoop underneath the jaw there. I get that from real lizards. If you have a look underneath the jaw there, the jaw's in two parts with a bit of a hollow. Oh, sweat lines, that must be good. Oh, and the trademark, spawning a bob, two fangs for skinks. I just grabbed a reference image from a different picture there to get the colours of the Blood Bowl armour and the basic form of it. So I could just cut and fill with the colours rather than go messing around with the palette again. Keep my army all looking neat, like they're meant to be playing together. And yep, so having made nude skinks, I then chuck the armour on top on a different layer. Oop, definitely down to details now. Shiny teeth, white dots in the pupils, the final lining in for this guy here. Yeah, must be happy with those hands. Very good. So each of these is a separate element on a separate layer, which is fine. Usually things are behind something or in front of something, which is straightforward. There's a helmet on another layer there on top. Gets tricky when you've got complex elements where you've got things that overlap in different ways. So for instance, part of this skink is behind the Bastiladon tail and part of it's on top. So I'll do him complete and I'll do the Bastiladon complete, and then probably when I do the final layering, somebody's got to end up having a little bit deleted to show through where the other layer goes. Or potentially I could do a skink who is in fact in two separate pieces, in two separate layers. Anyway, that's all sort of ending sort of detail work. Now horns, this is how I would paint a model as well, is to start with a base colour, streak up from the base with something dark, streak down from the top with some bleached bone or something similar. In fact, there's not very much I do with pencil or with the tablet art, which I didn't learn from painting miniatures when it comes to the colouring. So where the shades are, where the highlights are. Having said that, I'm not a brilliant artist, and I'm also not a brilliant miniature painter, but shh, that doesn't matter. What's that? What is that? I have no idea what that was. Never mind. Helmet. It's interesting, I haven't really touched the eyes right from the beginning. Sometimes there'll be one element which just has to stay. It just captures the whole mood of the picture. And in this case, the eyes are perfect. Not touching them. Now at this point, I don't actually own a Bastiladon model, so I don't have a reference in front of me. So most of my things are spawning a bob versions of Lustrian creatures, not an attempt to copy the official models. They'll have some elements in common, so you know what's what, but after that, it's really about what I can draw and what conveys the image I want. I'm going around here putting some shade onto the scales. See, I'm doing dark edges, light edges, line those in, then fill. There we go, fill. Thinking, oh, that's a bit bland. Oh, here we go. spray painting his body there. Now, I've done so many different ways up till now of doing shading. I would probably never shade a creature like this again. I've found different ways of doing it. But anyway, I've just filled him in with a sort of bleachy colour and then come back with a browny sort of darker shade. Then I decided he didn't have enough texture, so I'm back putting in almost exactly the same lines that we had right at the beginning, to give that three-dimensional shape and give the scale texture. And probably I'll decide that those lines are a little bit heavy, and then we'll make them less opaque towards the end. So using your curved lines there, you can give a feeling of, if you wanted to draw a sphere, and say it's a sphere, not a circle, then you'd use those curved concentric lines at different points, the way they overlap, indicating something. What's happening now is I'm just going around deleting all the errors and places where things are overlapped. Yes, it's a horn. Standard technique. Oh, we're up to details already. Very good. Those little bits of light in the pupils of the eyes really make a big difference. I tried leaving them out and putting them in, but yeah, they're definitely something I feel happy when I get to do those. You get that last little bit of the emotion or the mood of the character with the eyes. Ah, gosh. So many different bits, isn't there? Oh, here we go. Straight lines. You know I don't like straight lines, so anyway, here's a few. To work out, which way would they go? How would they attach to the helmet? How long would that bit? How far would that stick out? What colour would that be? Oh, here we are. So I've got the two layers overlapping. I've made one of them less opaque so I can see the other, and I'm going around deleting the lighter layer, which is on top, so that the layer behind shows through. That's the layer of the skink. So those bits which do sit in front of the Bastiladon are really, you're looking through a window in the Bastiladon. Now what you saw just disappearing then was my palette, and I like to use a shade, and then a shade lighter, and a shade darker, and that's pretty much it. I had a bit of trouble working out how the bunting rope was going to go, so flags are even worse, of course, but never mind. If I was doing rope, what I'll normally do is just grab a very wide brush and just do it a block colour, and then I'll come around and delete the inside of that, or colour it a different colour, rather than trying to do long curving but parallel lines. Okie dokie. It looks like corrections. You can see all those little spaces there. Whenever you fill something, it doesn't quite fill to the edge usually. Obviously pearly white teeth weren't going to happen. No, I have changed his eyes. There you go. Didn't quite see them obviously with the bar there. And it's interesting, I'll often go back to just pinpoint eyes to get the direction that they're looking right, and then build the eyes up from there. And I'll do one which will be perfect, then I'll do the other one and it won't be. I'll just have to slide it across pixel by pixel until I get it to the right spot. So that was a thick black line which I filled with white to make the rope for the bunting. And that piece of flag looks chewed on, doesn't it? Yeah, of course it does. That's definite chewing effect there. Well done. Discommute is a cruel master who demanded I draw backgrounds. I had to individually draw every face in the crowd back there. Took me a minute. It was terrible. Now, we're just going on to shading now. So the shadows are in a different layer. Here we are. And I'll put the shadow layer in front of everything else. Work out where it's darkest, lightest, where it extends to. And then when I do the final thing, I flip it around so that the shadow's behind. And I've reduced the opacity of the shadow quite a lot. It turns out that all of those faces I drew in the background, hundreds of different coloured faces, gone. Cutting room floor. I just ended up cropping it in so you can't even see what they're standing on, or never mind. So that's the final image from Beasts of Lustria with the Bastiladon. Bit of an epic process, but I'm happy with the result. Here are some other images from the same thread. Bastiladon from a different angle there, and there's the coaches telling the team what to do, and the club president, or I don't know, club owner, watching a game off the geomantic web there. Now, please believe me, this will all make a lot more sense if you actually read Discommute's words that went with the images. But even if you don't, I'm sure you'll agree being mean to Skaven is a good thing. And there should probably be a lot more of it. In fact, I think the only thing better than being mean to Skaven is... Yeah, that felt good. I really enjoyed that one. Anywho, there it is. Lustria Online is where you can find other things, and if you go to the Fluff Forum and the Lustriapedia, there's a whole lot of other writers and artists there who might have something you're interested in. See you next time.